Welcome to the In My Opinion show with Ronald Barrington Robinson and friends, seen on the internet, 24 hours, 7 days a week. I want to introduce our very fabulous my co-host, Ms. Jackie Williams.
Hello, everyone.
And Mr. Henry Hatter.
Ron.
Welcome
Jackie.
to the In My Opinion show. Let's talk about DACA, all right? Should children brought to America with their illegal parents be sent back to the country of origin? Reports say there are over 800,000 plus. My question would be this. President Trump announced immigrants are not wanted in the U.S. Then what the hell is he and his wife doing here? They're immigrants at one point. Jeff Sessions is another person that I think America should get to know really well, maybe not in a good light. Jeff Sessions just announced that the Trump administration will end deferred action for childhood arrivals, DACA. Today, more than ever, our communities must continue to fight back against the Trump regime. DACA currently protects over 800,000 young immigrants from being deported. It allows immigrants to stay in the U.S., live with their families, work, go to school, and thrive in their communities. Without such a program, millions of families will be torn apart. Jackie, what do you think about this? Trump. To me, it's a racist situation.
But it's not a new one. As I was traveling to North Carolina this summer, I listened to a special on suburban radio. And what they stated was back in, I think, Henry, you can probably jump in here, back in the early 60s, it was starting to be too many different races here. And so they wanted to spread them out. So what they did was they blocked a lot of different races from coming in to keep it pure. And they started to sterilize some of the men and offer sterilization. So this is not anything new. And Jeff Sessions is actually on video recording saying that it is starting to thin out. And I think, Henry, I've heard you say several times that in 2050, the minority is going to flip. And so they realized those numbers back then, even then. So they did the same thing. So this is not anything new. But the sad part is they show statistics that 98% of DACA are tax-paying. They're not violent offenders. They don't have records. So the case is being made against them is not fair because they're taxpayers. They don't have a green card where they're not paying taxes. Is it a green card?
Yes.
They don't have that. So they are tax-paying citizens. They're just not United States citizens. But I just think it's not fair because those are your doctors. Those are your lawyers. Those are your positions, teachers, professors. You know, this is what makes our world diverse. So if you take the diversity out, what are you saying?
You want me to respond to that?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chair. You're grasping the issue that I've been saying for 10 years, and we've never had a response from the white community until recently. And what you see is we've been talking about the paradigm shift and the browning of America. And I can't say that all Americans are opposed to that, because they're not. But there are still Americans who don't see this as a good thing. And with respect to DACA, Mr. Trump does have an argument. And his argument is that we don't want our country to be like open borders in Europe. We want people to be asked to come in. We want people to contribute to the system of government and the economy. And what you pointed out, that many of these young people who grew up are now doctors and lawyers and so on. So they have a contribution to the country. And bringing the young people, now here's the question that we're trying to wrestle with. Now, there were non-parental people who brought little kids into the United States from other families, perhaps. And they had no idea of the consequences of coming in with a non-parent illegally. But it's not their fault that they're here, okay?
Right.
And so now we have to think about this. You can't just completely say, well, throw the bums out, because they have rights, like squatters' rights. They've been here a lot of years. They contribute to the economy. They pose no problem. But there are other young people who came here, not as a sibling, but they were older. In their teens, I'm not so sure about those. If they have police records, they've killed someone, and they are causing disruptions in the country, we need to think through that through a different lens. If there are older people who came here illegally, then those people need to be, that needs to be thought about, because they're here illegally, and they probably knew they were here illegally. And this is where we have to meet this argument halfway, because you're right in part of it, but wrong and inhumane in the other part of it.
I disagree.
Okay.
Because for one, these are not the people that are posing problems, because according to your president,
he's our president.
No. Hispanics are criminals. This is how he views different people. So you can't tell me through the lenses of somebody who views people incorrectly, you can have a correct target, because everybody's a target in his mind. Because if you don't agree with his things, and we're not the only ones that will suffer, because he hires immigrants every year, because he said that Americans don't want the money. So he is a hypocrite, because he's saying that he don't want them to come over and take jobs. But am I correct? In his golf course, he bring over people to work seasonal, because he said people here in the United States won't do it. Am I correct?
Yeah, and he's right.
No,
if you have a business, you got to keep the business going. You got to hire what fits in that scenario.
But it can't be just to your tune. It has to be fair to everybody.
But that's part of the prerogatives that the American system of government offers a businessman.
No, that's why he's a hypocrite, because he's saying that these immigrants are taking jobs, like you said. So if they're taking jobs, why is he helping by bringing them over seasonally instead of posting a job for Americans?
Well, I must say that I don't understand all of that, because I've never seen a graphic presentation of how he deals with his immigrants. I know that he's been accused of having immigrant workers, which is a good thing. Immigrant workers are great workers.
Right.
They will do what Americans refuse to do.
But I don't think I buy that argument that Americans don't want to work. Okay, we're the most powerful country in the world. Okay, and it took a collective force to make America what we are today. So when I hear people saying that we can't find enough Americans to fill certain positions, I don't buy that.
You don't know of all the people that sit home every day and do nothing?
Well,
they quit their jobs and go.
It's not,
and that's unknown.
Let's not just
welfare,
blame.
but I think it happened
assistance.
back. I think the crippling happened, because I think a crippling happened when we were going through the recession, and they kept extending the unemployment. People it takes 30 days to develop a habit, correct? So this went on for what, 2 years they had extensions for unemployment? So people were not working for like 2 years but getting a check. So if your mindset is not healthy, you're thinking, wow, I'm getting a check and I'm sitting at home. So a lot of people never went back to work because they were like, well, I sat at home and got the same amount of money. So
And that annoys a lot of people.
It annoys
Of course,
me.
that annoys
it does.
It
But
annoys me.
don't blame. I keep hearing this over and over and over and over again. You know, they wanna label black folks and
Not-
brown folks.
no, they didn't
you know,
say black people.
Well, I know they don't have to, but
Yeah.
you know they didn't. But that's their reality, which is.
But it's true for that
No.
segment of the population as well.
No, it is more
Well, actually,
white folks
that's
on welfare.
right. Yeah.
All right.
We can't categorize race here. Let's talk about the problem,
We
not
got
about
to
race.
talk about the race.
No,
Okay.
it's not that. Okay, even with because the population is greater. So let's just be fair. The population is greater, and and so there is more whites on welfare than blacks because the population is greater. But the problem.
But is that a compliment to blacks? to say
No, I'm not.
No.
This is not a compliment. Period. What I'm saying is, I'm just giving you the real facts. And so the issue is, a lot of people during that time of the recession lost great jobs, and so you have to get back to the root of the problem. They lost great jobs, and so they're not making the money they used to make because people cut back, and some people never hired back. And so my point is, people feel like, I used to make this amount of money, so if you can't meet me at this amount of money, I'd rather not work. And so that's what a lot of people have done. Now, correctly, it's not most black people.
No, it's not. We aren't saying that. We're not saying that.
We're not saying that, but
No.
it's a lot of white, uneducated men.
But we
that
don't wanna-
lost- No, because I need to qualify my point. It's a lot of white, unqualified men who do not make the money they used to make. Because I work with some, and I hear
know.
about it all the
I
time.
hear it too.
You know
I
what I'm
see
saying?
it.
I hear about it all the time. I used to make this, so that's the regret, is that they want to punish anybody that they think had
Mm-hmm.
anything to do with them not making that money they used to make, except the businessman. And that's why they don't make the money, because they want to make more profits.
And government has been part of the fault here. Government has made it difficult for people who earn a nominal wage to get health care. Either for health care, you have to be on unemployment, or your employer and yourself have to make enough money to pay in the health care package, right?
Right.
But so people don't earn quite enough to pay for the health care. And as a result, they quit the jobs. Have you heard that?
No, I've heard. Did you know who the biggest employer is of people who get government assistance for workers?
Probably the government.
No.
What?
Walmart.
Huh?
The number
Oh.
one employer that they're
The number one employer as government.
No, I'm saying
Walmart.
no, it's Walmart. Walmart has
that's the private business.
Walmart have the most employees that receive government assistance because they don't pay them fair wages. So
Okay.
they don't make more money. They're able to work, but they have to get their health care through the government. So again, that's pointing to who? The businessman.
Yeah, but did you hear what I said? To clarify this so people are not scratching their head. Well, does Henry Hatter have a point, or doesn't he? I said that government encourages this because people don't make enough money to get health care.
But why would government
And they-
encourage it? Why would you say government encourages that? What would be your argument for that?
Well, the argument is that if you don't have health care, you quit your job and you get on assistance.
But that's not
Government is not doing that, but people have the prerogative to do that. They quit their jobs and they go on government assistance. I know people that have done it. I've heard it multiple
But
times.
you know that we have restrictions now.
Yeah?
Okay, so you have a 4-year lifetime. So you're not going to go in it for the rest of your life.
I don't know that.
I'm telling
sorry.
you, it's 4
I don't-
years maximum. It doesn't matter when you have your kids or when you don't. 4 years maximum.
You're not going to deny kids health care.
No. I'm saying they won't get like monetary assistance. You might
Yeah.
get health care, but you're not going to get
But you're getting
monetary.
taken care of by the government.
Are you really?
Yes.
Or are you living below the poverty level?
It have
Because
nothing
what
to
it
do with
is-
the poverty level.
Yes, it does.
I'm talking
Yes,
about
it does.
if that's your choice, then that's the choice you make.
And of course, we're responsible for our own choices. But back to what I'm saying, back to the businessman who is at front. Because see, the businessman, all of these, they bring in millions and millions and millions of dollars, and then you pay scraps to your employees who help you bring in those millions of dollars, so you don't turn around and help them like a General Motors or a Ford.
That's what drove General Motors into bankruptcy.
Aren't they better now? Are they better now?
Better how?
They're doing
They're
pretty
they're still
No,
trying
they
to get
pay
out of
back
the
all their
hole.
money to the government.
Yeah,
They're
I know
good
that,
now.
but they're still trying to get out of the hole. They're not the world's largest corporation anymore. They're competing behind Ford in this country, and thirdly behind Toyota. Toyota's number one in the United States. Ford's number two.
And that's
General
only
Motors is
on the
struggling.
books because of regulations are different.
Yeah, no, that could be. And Trump says that he's going to reduce a lot of these
No,
regulations.
and that's
But
the
you didn't hear
problem.
what I
See,
said. You didn't hear let the public hear what I said.
No, he already said it.
He
Because
said that it was
that's
gonna
why the cars
Scrap
that's
a
why-
lot of regulations
Yes,
to
and that's the
enable
problem.
countries that struggle, companies that struggle to get back on their feet.
But that's not what it's going to do. Guess what it's going to do? It's
I
going
don't
to
know.
endanger us because regulations calls for us to be protected. And that's what he's doing. He's taking the protection from around the consumer and giving it to $1. That's what he's doing.
Well, I don't know. You earned those protections.
No.
You gotta, and people have got to decide whether they want those protections or not.
Well, if you're rich and you've never had anything but protection, how would you know the difference?
Well,
so you don't know
we're
how-
rich by being Americans.
that's-
Stop and think about it.
That's your opinion.
Yeah, stop and think about it. We have health care in this country. We have the food that we need. Have you ever been to any other country where they were in dire destitute? Don't have a pot to pee in?
Yeah, I understand that, but do you not know that even with all the food we have, that our kids are going hungry?
Oh, God.
they are.
They're
I
giving
want to
them
hear that.
weekend lunches.
I-
are you
I'm
aware
sorry-
of that?
I'm sorry.
Henry, you in the school board. They're giving
Yeah.
them weekend lunches.
Look,
You come down there.
I
come down there.
I
to
want
the
you guys
north
to
end.
go into a school.
You come down there.
Just go into a school. Ask them if you can come in. And let them see the kids who eat their meals. And watch how much waste there is. Watch how much waste.
We're not
now,
talking
all
about
kids
waste,
in
we're
New York
talking
now,
about-
all kids in New York now, irrespective of their income, will get free lunches.
And Flint,
Free break.
everybody in Flint gets free lunch.
Yeah. I don't think that everybody does. I don't.
Yes, everybody in Flint is
We don't have 100% poverty in the schools. That's our problem if we have that
it's
much.
because of the water. Everybody in Flint
Oh,
is
yeah.
everybody in Flint gets free lunch.
Yeah.
Every Flint school.
Yeah. That makes you more dependent.
So what are they supposed to do in the meantime?
Well, they're supposed to figure out a way that they can, because the water in this community is not as bad as we politically say it is.
And you're gonna have to hire protection.
Yeah.
It is.
It is,
bad,
it is
Henry.
not. It is not.
Do
no,
you ever
no.
use the water, Henry?
Yes, I do. Every time I come in here. Every time I come to Flint, I use the water.
How often do you go to Flint? I work in Flint.
Every day.
I work in Flint, and let me just tell you,
And I pay no attention to the water.
Let me just tell you, for real, I thought it was something really.
Do you ever go
wrong
to a restaurant?
in Flint? No, I was in Flint.
Do you know people that do go to the
Yes,
restaurant in
but I
Flint?
work in Flint.
Do
and
they
I was
complain
using
about the water?
Yes, they do, because I.
Why
wash
are they
my
going
hands
into
with
the restaurant?
water, and my hands break out, and I didn't know what was wrong with my hands, and
Well,
it's because of
You
the
might be
water.
sensitive to the water. But people, we have got to stop this dependency on government. It's killing us. It's driving the city out of business. People are leaving.
Now, you know what the funny thing that you say that?
Yeah.
You say that this is a good point they brought up on MSNBC last night. They said that, everybody want everybody to be independent of the government, and they don't want to help. They don't want to adopt the programs. They don't want to get the tax breaks and stuff. But guess what? As this storm come in, who's going to give aid to these places? Who's going to give aid to them?
With the government.
Oh, okay. The person that you think that should not do anything, you don't want to pay into, you want to cut every program into
I don't see how that's relevant to
Yes,
what you're
it's
talking.
relevant because until you need the tax dollars, they're ridiculous.
But the government moves in a crisis, a God-made crisis, and this is what that is. The storm.
And some of the crises are made by
and
man.
people are blaming the president for that. How do you make the connection? He has nothing to do with that. God would do that anytime he wants to.
Well, he took the United States out of a climate accord, all right, signed by 195 other nations. So I wonder what this.
If I were president, I would not have done that.
Okay, well,
And the EPA, when you have somebody running the EPA that sued the EPA 22 times. So they're not into what the EPA really stands for. I think it's just a person there that's trying to figure out why it's there and the relevance of it. So if the EPA, this is what they're saying on TV, if the EPA would have did the study, we would have known that these things were tracking these hurricanes, because the one that's coming in the morning is one of the worst ones. They can't even gauge how bad it's going to be.
We don't know how good we got it. And what kind of water do you think those people are drinking there? The millions that are displaced throughout that southern hemisphere. What do you think the water quality is like?
It probably doesn't have lead.
Well, it has a lot of other things. It probably has lead too. Lead is everywhere. It's ubiquitous.
You know, I drink water too in Flint, but it comes out of a bottle.
But I drink water if I'm sitting down at a restaurant. They bring the water over.
Sit down there and drink that mess for nothing in this world.
But do you know what you're doing? You're killing incentives.
No,
to rising out of the
I don't feel like
I'm going to let you talk.
Fooling our public out there, with a bunch of nonsense. Okay, people know. People are dying. I'll use Flint since we're talking about water. People are dying here in Flint. All right. Look at all those babies that were born with the lead in them. What kind of future what are they going to have?
Oh, right? We've had lead in our water for hundreds of years.
See what happens here is people such as
myself
talk like you're talking.
Like I talk. Because I'm more enlightened about this stuff.
They're having another they have another standard of living. All right. Go down there to the North End Soup Kitchen and see all of those folks that come in there.
Do they bring their bottled water in? They think the water
give them the bottled water.
Okay, they give them the bottled water.
Right.
When you walk into a restaurant, you ask for bottled water. No, you don't. You drink the water that's there.
And guess what you see if you're in the city of Flint?
What?
Our water does not come from the city of Flint. It's a big old sign.
Yeah, you see that periodically. But stop and think, how are you economically impacting this community? It will never grow out of the hole that it's in.
It will when you
with the
replace
fear that all people like you is broadcasting. It's a reign of terror. Fear over water, and the people who take care of the water. People are not dying. Why aren't the hospitals saying to you?
The hospitals
why don't you have? I want you to have hospital guests on here and tell us how many people are dying. Now, if they want to blame the ones that they're going to die
from other stuff,
that's going to die of old age and they're as water poisoning, I can't buy it.
That's why so many people have donated to healthcare for these kids for later, because think about it, when we were young, we didn't have all the autistic children that are there. So where do you think all these things come from?
But they didn't come from lead.
You don't know where it came from.
We know it didn't come from lead.
The people that were in the room with the rugs, we didn't have a lot of those classrooms. Now we have a whole school for autistic people. So something has changed that we weren't paying attention to.
Mm-hmm. But we haven't done our studies yet. We don't know where this is coming from.
There's been enough.
But you can't pin lead on it. You're leading the professionals in the wrong direction. People should be investigating this. We're talking.
Are investigating.
Well, then you're saying people are dying of lead. They're dying of Legionnaires. They're dying of this because Flint Water.
And that's why they
because Flint Water is so bad. We don't. You never hear of people coming into Flint from other communities that's complaining about the water.
Because they don't want to come into Flint.
Well, that's
why.
not, they don't come into Flint because of crime.
Okay, no, it's
No,
not
it's
crime.
not
No,
crime.
no,
Crime,
no,
guys.
no.
The first thing is somebody
We
will
could always-
ask me is if we have Flint water.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
guys have
Exactly,
Flint water?
exactly.
Do you have shower filters? That's what they'll ask me.
I was in South Carolina this summer, all right, sitting down talking to some people. And I said, you know, I'm from Michigan. Do you ever go up to Flint and drink that water?
Yeah, I live in
Right.
Flint.
See?
You don't
said-
live in Flint.
Well,
said-
no,
I said-
but I
I
drink
said-
the Flint water. But we're scaring people to
No,
death.
we're not scared.
Yes,
we're
we are.
educating. That's educating.
Educating.
And people who work in those capacities, where they benefit from funds for water, are really exacerbating the problem.
Well,
Because they benefit.
I'll bring some guests on this show so we can talk about it.
Well, bring them on.
Because education is the key.
Bring on.
That's
them.
right, that's right. That's
Bring
right.
on. Bring them on. I would love to talk to them.
For the next minute or so we got, let's get back to
And
this.
by the way,
Let's
we're
get
not
back to
arguing.
that.
I'm not arguing with you, but I'm arguing what I believe.
That's right. And it's,
Since
My
the,
values.
since the start of the Trump occupation in the White House, he has laid out an agenda that harms immigrants. It began with the executive orders to strip funds from sanctuary cities, issuing travel bans that target Muslim immigrants. We cannot forget the Trump administration is determined to build a border wall. One of the country's largest private prison companies, GEO Group, received one of the first contracts from the Trump administration that resulted in the opening of a large Texas detention center for children. See, this thing that Trump's people, we got to fight against this stuff Trump is pulling. All right, because in my opinion, he's a racist to his heart. All right, but we're gonna revisit this topic at a later date. But at this point, we must bring the In My Opinion show to a close. This is Ronald Barry Robinson and friends saying until next time, stay focused.